Do you really think Sonic 4 is better than Superstars? I do not view Sonic 4 as a classic Sonic game. This video will contain full spoilers for Sonic Superstars. If you just want my quick thoughts on the game, it's doo-doo ass and you shouldn't get it. Sonic Superstars came out in late 2023 to a mixed reception and is still a polarizing game within the Sonic community to this very day. Some people think it's pretty good, and some people think it's evil and killed their grandma. I am one of those people. I really wanted to like Superstars. I thought at the very worst it would just be fine. Like nothing horrible, but nothing too amazing either. Especially after it was revealed the Mania devs wouldn't be returning to work on it, instead of bringing Arzest. Oh wow, Sega really went in on the advertising too, having promos everywhere, a 2D animated prequel short like Frontiers, and I even got more ads for the game than I did with Frontiers. Apart from that one Don't Stop Me Now ad. That was a weird one. They even got the Cybershell to make a promo for the game. He really hated this game, didn't he? Reviews rolled in and they were looking really positive, so I was excited to play. However, I looked at that £55 price tag and thought, I'll skip this one for now. And over half a year later, I bought it for £18 and still feel robbed. Now, is this the worst Sonic game ever conceived? No, of course not. But I definitely think it's down there. Is it better than the Genesis games? Maybe Sonic 1 and CD, but I don't think so, for reasons we'll get in later. Now, is it better than Classic Sonic and Sonic Generations? I don't think so either. While Classic Sonic and Generations didn't feel at all like his Genesis counterpart. He had levels built around his different physics and OP spin dash, so it led to some pretty entertaining levels. Levels in Superstars just keep dragging on and just don't feel interesting at all. What about Classic Sonic and Sonic Forces? Of course Superstars is better than that. However, Sonic Forces levels last 1.5 minutes each, while Superstars levels last upwards of 6, maybe even 10 minutes each, which just leads to a pick your poison sort of situation where neither are good, but Jesus Christ. My and everyone else's biggest gripe with the game are the simply atrocious boss fights. It doesn't matter if you're some 8-year-old kid who just got the game for Christmas, or God's gift to Sonic, they will take you minutes on end, for the simple reason they just will not die. They hardly ever give you an opportunity to hit them, and when they do, you can only hit them once for the insane amount of invincibility they receive. This was obviously done so you can't jump the shit out of the boss in multiplayer mode or spam the emerald powers. But why didn't they A, reduce invincibility in the single player mode, B, remove the emerald powers entirely during the boss fights, or C, design the boss fight around the emerald powers? I get why they wouldn't do that last one, because there's no creative bone in this game's body, but for the other ones, did they really play the 5-minute long boss fights with unchanging patterns and think it was fun? Actually, literally no, because the final boss fights just have random bullshit moves they pull out of nowhere that can insta-kill you and start from the beginning. I was stuck on that stupid Fang final boss for 45 minutes, I just couldn't take it anymore, I just tried to skip the whole thing. You know, somehow this is better. I didn't encounter many glitches in my playthroughs, but I did feel a substantial lack of polish throughout. I mean, just look at Trip here when she's in a dragon form. Whenever she gets bumped by a spring or something, she turns into that. I'm gonna go through each level in the game and give my thoughts on each of them. See if you notice anything about the quality of the game as we go on. Grey Hill is just Green Hill, but now it's grey, which, you know what, I'm fine with this. I'd rather have this than just Green Hill again. This is actually a pretty decent starting level. However, just compare it to Generations Green Hill and you'll start to see the problems I have with how the game looks. Sonic and all the other characters in this game look fantastic. They're really colorful, expressive, animated really well. Mostly animated really well. I really like how they look in this game. However, a lot of the levels, particularly with the backgrounds, just look bland and uninteresting. Again, look at Generations. The background details here really help sell this as a location in Sonic's world. Now take a look at Grey Hill again. It's not bad or anything, it just doesn't look as good as the one from 2011. It's not like every level in the game looks bad. I mean, just look at Act 2 of Grey Hill here. The background is still pretty empty, but now there's this lovely looking sunset in the background. I think it looks really nice here. Anyways, this is where we get the blue Chaos Emerald, which gives us the avatar power. It acts as a screen wipe or a couple free hits on a boss, so it's pretty useful. And yes, I do say the blue emerald because you can only get 1 emerald per zone. That's right, not per act, per zone. If you enter a special ring again after getting the emerald, you'll just get medals if you complete it. What do you use the medals for, you may ask? Well, you can use them in the robot shop, In theory, I don't mind the 1 emerald per zone thing. I mean, in the first couple zones of the classics, I just spend all my time going for the Chaos Emeralds anyway. And with the new powers, I guess it makes sense. You wouldn't want the player to have all of them at once at the start. But as we'll soon see, this is a completely redundant and poorly thought out feature. Overall though, a pretty solid start to the game. Can't wait to see what's next. Next is Green Jungle, and this is a level and a half. Fast, fun grinding, a good sense of speed, decent platforming. This is a good one. This level, while not being the most creative theme-wise, is probably my favorite level in the game. I mean, just listen to that soundtrack. The Act 1 boss here is one of the few bosses in the game that can be beaten in like 5 seconds, but with how the other bosses in the game are, I'll fucking take it. Act 2 has this visibility gimmick, which is kind of annoying, but I don't really mind it since it's only in short sections. This is also where we see our first character-specific act, being Act Sonic. There are some levels in the game where you're forced to play as a specific character, and you know what? I like this decision. It gives a reason for the player to try out all the different characters and see what they're all about. In this case, Sonic has the drop dash, which allows him to keep the speed going. Act Sonic here is mostly comprised of running away from Fang the Jerboa. I'd probably like it a lot more if the Fang theme wasn't so... that. This zone is also where we get the red Chaos Emerald and the Fireball power. Fireball is probably my favorite power of the bunch since it feels good to use, keeps the speed up, and allows your character to reach areas they may not be able to reach. Yeah, like that. Overall, that was a really good level. At this point in the game, things were looking really good. Little did I know of the horrors that awaited me with the rest of the game. Here we have Sky Senku Temple Zone. It exists! That's all I can say really, it's a very forgettable one. There's a section where you play Breakout. That's cool, right? Here's where we get the Purple Emerald and the Vision power. It reveals hidden platforms and rings, but only in select areas, so it's basically completely useless until the game says, oh, now it's time to use it. A pretty lame power for a pretty lame level. I hope the next one is better. Pinball Night Zone. Never seen this one before. I get it. The casino level is a Sonic staple at this point, but this just feels like another one for the pile. Act 1 is actually alright. The casino gimmicks aren't too intrusive, and there's plenty of speed sections to be had. Particularly the section at the end where you have to run away from these missiles as the level explodes around you. The boss fight here requires you to flip all these tokens to make the boss vulnerable, and it gets more dangerous with each hit. Not that you would need to know that, because of course, you can just cheese him with the emerald powers. It's a shame because I actually think this would be a decent boss fight in any other game, it's just those damn emerald powers, man. I think if they didn't make the 2 best emerald powers the first 2 that you get, the early game bosses would be a lot more memorable. But at the same time, I'm kinda glad that's how it is, because it means newer players, who may not be able to find as many special rings, can cheese the shit out of the bad bosses later in the game. Act 2 adds some more gimmicks into the mix, and it sucks. The casino gimmicks are way more intrusive, there's this fire switch gimmick that exists to waste 5 seconds of your life, and the roller coaster sections that are just not fun in the slightest. This level is a shining example of another one of my biggest issues with the game, the needless constant gimmicks. Act 1 was fun because it had the obvious gimmick of the casino set pieces, and it made a fun level with them in mind. It wasn't the sole focus of the level, it was something to enhance an already good level. Act 2 just feels like they're trying way too hard to make a unique level by just pasting all these bad gimmicks one after the other. Now, there are entire sections with the casino gimmicks, these roller coaster sections over bottomless pits that are not fun in the slightest, and another boss fight that you can just completely cheese. I really don't understand why they did this. They had a good thing going with Act 1, but they decided to ruin it for no reason. Whatever, the emerald we get here is the cyan one, which grants us the water power. It allows us to swim up waterfalls and traverse underwater sections with relative ease. Underwater sections. I get you want the player to have the power before you get to the water level, but at least add something I can use it on. Maybe swim up some leaking pipes. Maybe a water slide. I don't know, anything. Whatever, let's just hope the water level is good. Lagoon City Zone is our required water level for the game. It has a half-decent thing of being an Atlantean city or whatever, but it just feels super forgettable as an actual level. There aren't any new gimmicks here, just some same ones we've seen from previous classic Sonic levels, which is very strange since this game has an obsession with adding intrusive gimmicks that ruin the level, but I digress. The boss here is actually the one boss in the game that was somewhat intended to be used with the emerald powers. In this case, water. The boss takes place mostly underwater, so you'd think, well, now's the time to use the water power, right? Kinda, yeah, but after it goes on cooldown, it just goes back to being a shitty underwater boss. They almost had something here with the emerald power themed boss, but they just didn't go all the way with it. The green one is the emerald for today, and it grants us the vine power. This is also where we get the Act Amy for the game. I hate it. It just takes far too long and it's all just a blur. You aren't doing anything interesting, I just had my mind off the whole level. Partway through the level, Amy encounters Trip, who fell down here in a previous cutscene. And then she carries her, I guess, to safety. She gives her an apple at the end, which is cute, but Trip, you lazy bastard, you can stand just fine. In terms of abilities, Amy has her hammer, which allows her to swing it around while running and double jump. It's fine. I'm glad she's here and playable, it's just a shame that her level just completely sucks. It's just constant nothing for 6 minutes. Oh! Sand Operary is a level that exists. Once again, another really basic one. It's just a desert level that happens to have a pink snake, I guess. Remember Mars Saloon in Sonic Mania where it had the whole Western cowboy thing going on? With the giant guns, the bars with the pianos and stools, and the giant salsa dispensers? This game costs £55. Yellow Emerald, here we go. The power it grants is to make everything slow. This power would actually be really useful if I didn't have to go through this menu every time I wanted to use it. Actually, that goes for every Emerald power, because I think they would see a lot more use if they just pop the ability as soon as I select it on the wheel. As it is now, you have to select the one you want on the wheel, wait for it to confirm, and then you can press the button. Not to mention, sometimes it just doesn't work, so you just kind of stand there like an idiot. It just feels really awkward and pace-breaking. It makes me not want to use the Emerald powers at all. I wish it worked like Shulk's Monadowats in Smash, where you can spin the wheel around to pick one, or you can just mash the button to pick one on the fly. That could lead to some really fun moments, especially if you could chain them together. Like imagine going up with the vine, then blasting off with the fireball, that would be really great. But alas, that would be too fun. And that's not allowed in Sonic Superstars. I mean, just look at the boss fight here. Good stuff. But hey, at least this level has some amazing music, just listen to that track! Sounds ripped out of Shantae or something. I can't wait to listen to the next one. Factory Zone is a factory level based on a factory and another factory put together. While Sonic Mania had the press garden, which combined a press factory and a Japanese garden, and Sonic 2 had the chemical plant, which had all these different colored chemical hazards and that amazing sprite work in the background, this is just a factory. The gimmick for Act 1 is the whole level will shake every few seconds, sending you up. It doesn't add anything, it's just there. Act 2, on the other hand, has a gimmick similar to Sandopolis or Oil Ocean in Sonic Mania, where you have to press a switch to keep the level going. However, in those levels, you could ignore the switches and just get through with your skill. Here? No, here, this superstar shit gets serious. You saw that right, it just outright kills you. It's never a major issue, it's just in a couple sections you either have to execute it flawlessly or fail on purpose so you can press the button again. The final emerald we get here is the white one, which grants us the extra power. It's a character specific ability and Jesus Christ, it sucks! Not that the abilities themselves are bad, it's just the whole rigmarole of going through the menus each time just kills any use it would have. I would much prefer if this was bound to one of the face buttons with how specific the moves are. Sonic gets his homing attack, Tails shoots a tornado, Knuckles gets a punch, Amy throws a hammer, and Trip gets a fireball. Why would I go out of my way to select this ability when I can just as easily go up to the enemy and just jump on it? If it was bound to its own button, I think it would have a lot of use, because for example, you could homing attack and then go into a drop dash to keep the pace going. It'd probably be broken to just let you spam the moves whenever you want, but maybe put it on a meter that you can fill with rings, and then using a move takes up a section of the meter. That could be cool. Rings are basically useless now since lives are gone, so give the player an incentive to collect them. Also, since this is the last emerald, we get Supersonic, or superpowers for the other characters. What the fuck, superpowers? Yeah, so they're just retroactively removing the super forms, even though we just got Mania and Origins, which gave it to them. Did they not want to animate the flashing colors on them or something, so they just slapped on a yellow aura? Literally no, because there used to be a glitch in the credits, which just gave them back their old flashing colors. It's just absolutely baffling to me how a glitch like this can even occur. Speaking of absolutely baffling, City of Gold Zone. Take a look at that background. The wonders of modern gaming. This level takes a golden Aztec temple and combines it with casino gimmicks and lava. It is not very fun. There are these golden things that when you hit them, they puke out a bunch of rings. But since rings are basically useless now, with one ring being about as useful as 100, I have no clue why these are even here. Now you might be thinking, well, I have all the Chaos Emeralds now and there's all these rings everywhere. This is a perfect time to go Supersonic.
Why should I be penalized because of your sloppiness?
Here we have Act Knuckles, and just like Act Amy, it is not very good. Again, it just goes on forever and everything looks the damn same. It's not interesting or fun in the slightest. Much like this zone's boss. Remember that shitty floating platform gimmick from earlier in the level? Wouldn't it be so awesome if they made a shitty 5-minute long boss that took place exclusively on this platform? Wouldn't it be so cool if you had no emerald powers or supersonic so you're forced to fight it for as long as humanly possible? After you finally beat this purple prick, he tries to get away and activate his Death Turbo robot, but Trip isn't having any of that shit and goes in for the kill. Jesus Christ, what a level. Also, since Trip has to go super in this cutscene, Fang will drop all 7 Chaos Emeralds regardless of how many of you've collected up until this point. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Luckily for us, the next level here is the one I was most excited for, Retro City Zone. From the trailers, it looked like the most visually distinct level in the whole game with its so retro models and bright, vibrant colors. It looked a whole lot more unique than just jungle, desert, Grey Hill. With all these expectations in mind, do you think it lives up to them? What do you think? What the hell happened here? The level's pretty decent, I'll admit, but it just has to grind to a halt every so often to do these shitty gimmick sections. Firstly, we have these jellyfish sections, which you saw from the trailers, and they're okay, I guess. You can press jump to dash in a direction, which feels good to go through a section quickly, but in general, it just feels kind of floaty and awkward. The shitty mouse section, on the other hand, who the hell's idea was this? It's only used in this one short section, but then I have to ask, why is this here? It's not even fun, it's just that one minigame from Mario 64 DS where you have to draw the lines, except you can't even see what's up ahead, which is a pretty big problem when there's only one exit, and if you get hit one time, you get knocked all the way to the bottom, and it just feels like one giant waste of time. And the final gimmick section is this rocket that goes really quickly but insta-kills you if you fly into a wall. It's fine, I guess, but it's not like the level would feel incomplete without it. The boss here is actually a pretty neat idea. It's your customizable robot from the battle mode. But instead of something like the boss changing depending on what it has equipped, it's just kind of a basic boss fight. You just kind of run away for a bit and oh look, he's already dead. What? Now the robot is giant and you just run away again. It's not a horrible boss fight or anything, it just takes an eternity like every other boss in the game, I guess. It was also in this boss I realized, in the co-op mode, if you die to a boss, you're just permanently dead. In theory, I understand this. You don't want the players to just keep throwing themselves blindly at the boss when they have 0 rings to just cheese it completely. But with bosses lasting 3 or 4 minutes, doesn't it just seem a tad unfair? We're really doing this, huh? Ice Captory, in my opinion, is contender for worst zone in the entire game. It's just really boring from its set pieces to its gimmicks. There's just nothing interesting here. Now, saying that, you might be thinking, well, Ice Cap in Sonic 3 is just a basic snow level. You must fucking despise that level. And while yes, I do agree it's basic in its theme, it has unique set pieces and elements like this snowboard section at the beginning of Act 1. You go through a cave inside of Act 1, and you swing from these platforms, and then Act 2, you're outside of the cave and you're jumping on these trampolines. Not to mention that incredible song based on that unused Jetsons song. No. It also helps that the level is actually fun and from a game that is good. I mean, seriously, what does this level have in comparison? Well, you got me there. Why is this here? Does Sonic Team secretly really want to make a sequel to Sega Sonic Cosmo Fighter, what with this and the hacking minigame from Sonic Frontiers? Or did they include it because it's really easy to develop? This level just sucks too. You just fly around as you demolish everything in your path. It's not challenging, it's not engaging, it's not very fun, so again, for the billionth time, I must ask, why is this here? This zone also houses our final character-specific act, Act Tails. It sucks. I really don't understand why 3/4 of the character-specific acts just suck completely. Did they think because Sonic's meant to be the fast one, his level should be the only one to be under 5 minutes long? Was the intention because we spend so much time in these character-specific levels that we get really good at using these specific characters? I don't need 7 minutes to swing a hammer around, guys. I think I get the gist of it. I can't stress this enough, I don't mind having longer levels. It's just you need to have interesting things in them and things to do. Other than Act Amy having the bit where you carry Trip at the end, there's nothing unique about these levels. They just go on and on for 6 minutes and then they just end. It all just feels so aimless, like I'm stuck in purgatory. At least now we're approaching the end of the main game. Not Death Egg Zone is not the Death Egg Zone. I've always enjoyed the Eggman base theme for Sonic levels, and this one actually does kind of stand out a little bit. Here, the Egg Fortress is exploding all around you, so there's an intense sense of urgency throughout the level. Really, guys? This could have actually been a pretty neat final level, but once again, for the final time, they add shitty gimmicks that slow the level down. The worst of it being this anti-gravity bullshit that feels like asked to control and has no reason being here. Act 2 is a pretty neat idea. Time gets reversed by this thing, and then you have to beat the whole level backwards. It really is a shame I don't like the level it's reversing because this is a really creative idea. But at long last, we get to the final boss. For the main story, we fight the Not Death Egg robot, but for Trip's story, we fight Fang and his Death Jumboa robot. Both of these bosses are the epitomes of everything wrong with this game. Repetitive design, bullshit insta-kills, barely any windows to deal damage, insane runtime, embarrassing. Once you beat your final boss of choice, you have to escape the Egg Fortress as it explodes all around you, and then you get a cute little cutscene to end it all off. Okay. As the final cherry on top, you cannot even skip the credits, even if you've already beaten the game and watched them. I really don't understand why so many games do this, but hey, at least now we have an 11-minute long laundry list of people to blame! Almost every level in this game is boring, uninteresting, and sometimes is flat out infuriating in some way. There just aren't enough fun ideas here to justify the insane runtime that they have. Look at Sonic 3's Angel Island, for example. You start out in a jungle, then it catches fire midway through, and in Act 2 you're chasing Eggman's battleship thing and fighting under a waterfall. That's just the first bloody level. Take any level from Superstars and compare it to one from 3 or Mania. Those games at their worst, I think, are better than almost every level from Superstars. My favorite level from Sonic Superstars is like a mid-tier Sonic Mania level. What the hell is this? I understand Superstars levels have to accommodate for 5 different characters with varying abilities, on top of 7 Emerald Powers and Super Forms, but at that point, why even go this big if this is the end result? Instead of creating vast, interesting levels that allow for full use of every character, Emerald Power, and co-op mode, they instead created the most basic, uninventive levels imaginable so you can break them with all the tools at your disposal. Didn't really do a good job, did they? Sega really tried to push the co-op mode in the trailers as this big selling point, but not once while I was playing the game did I think, man, this game is so good, but if only I had someone else playing with me. I tried the co-op mode after I was done with the game, and it's just atrocious. The characters are not designed to work well together, all their movesets clash with each other, and in combination with Sonic level design, it just leads to players constantly being left behind. Not to mention the insane amount of glitches it has for some reason. Remember when I said earlier I didn't encounter many glitches on my playthroughs? That was only for the single player, you see. In multiplayer, oh my god, it's a different story. It feels like in every single level we played, there was some sort of bug or glitch or oversight or just lack of polish rearing its ugly head.
Oh wait, I have an idea.
What's that?
I have an idea. Okay, never mind.
So,
Oh, you can switch character? I don't know.
oh hell yeah.
In this menu, go away. We work now. Okay. This menu, go away. There we go.
Something like Mario works with 4-player co-op because all the characters play the exact same and you're not going a million miles an hour down slopes and shit. The co-op mode in Superstars is just a selling point for the back of the box and nothing else. Instead of crafting a co-op Sonic game, they just crafted a Sonic game that happens to have co-op in it. This game costs 55 fucking smackaroons. If it was 30 or 40, I would cut it a little bit of slack. But the fact is, I think you can get a better classic Sonic experience with any other game for a fraction of the price. I'm probably in the minority here, but I would genuinely much rather put up with the bullshit of Sonic 1 and CD than this game's, because those games are like an hour long and were made in like the Stone Age. This one is like 8 times the length and made in the modern era, with years of innovation and perfection of the platformer genre. Speaking of total bullshit, here's Trip the Sun Gazer. She gets her own little campaign and it sucks. You ever play one of those shitty Mario Maker levels where it's just a bunch of enemies placed everywhere with no rhyme or reason? Imagine that, but it's for a whole game. I kid, of course, but it really does feel like that sometimes. Trip's campaign is just the same levels again, in the same order, but now there's just a few more enemies placed everywhere. This also includes the character-specific acts, which is really weird, because now a lot of zones feel like they drag on even longer. It is absolutely just the definition of filler, but if you want that sweet, sweet supersonic finale, you better beat it. Not to mention the dragon in the room. Yes, Trip can transform into a giant fire-breathing dragon, and as shown before, it wasn't thought through very well. It just feels really stiff in the air, and you can hardly turn, and if you're not going in a straight line, you lose a ton of speed for some reason. For some reason, she also gets a fire-breathing move, which is completely worthless because you're already invincible. Why would I not just fly into them? This form was absolutely a last-minute decision because it just completely breaks the game. You can just fly over basically every level, or at least brute force your way through. You ever think why you couldn't fly with Supersonic in previous games? This is exactly why. Now you might be thinking, well, why is this different from other super forms? You can brute force the level with those. And yes, you can, but at least you have to touch the fucking ground every now and then. You can still mess up and go into a lower path or get crushed by something if you aren't careful. With this, you just kind of go. They really wanted you to have this dragon too because you start out with every Chaos Emerald. Huh. I mean, I'm glad I don't have to do those crappy special stages anymore, but really? After the whole 1 emerald per zone thing, you're just gonna give me all of them right off the bat? Whatever, man, just less gameplay for me, I guess. Speaking of gameplay, how about that true final boss, huh? This giant purple bastard just appears randomly in the middle of the ocean. We gotta stop him! So, what will this final boss be like? Will it be like Sonic 3's Doomsday Zone, where it's an epic chase through space while you play as Supersonic for an entire level? Or will it be like the most recent Sonic Frontiers, where Supersonic feels really powerful and there's a lot of spectacle going on? Or even like Sonic Mania, where the boss isn't very substantial, but at least the music gets you super hyped up?
Yes, 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 yes! I can win! I can break! I can do this!
Well, I'm happy to report Superstars is something very different from all of these, and instead makes the worst boss in the entire franchise. This boss, like the rest of the game, acts as one giant waste of time. As Supersonic, you're completely invincible, so all its attacks will do absolutely nothing to you except throw you around a little bit and waste your time. Occasionally, Tails and Knuckles will fly across the screen and give you some rings, and oh my god, you are gonna need them. To actually damage the boss, you need to wait until you get put into one of these little mini chase sections where you have to dodge these black holes. If you get sucked into one of the black holes, you have to spend some rings to dash out of it, and you know what? This is actually a half-decent mechanic. It actually gives me a reason to dodge the attacks. Too bad you only get to hit him once, and then you have to go back to waiting for another solid minute. After you hit him enough, it's on to phase 2, and Jesus fucking Christ, this blows. Now in the chase sections, you launch fireballs at you, which launch you pretty far back. If you get hit even once, just give up trying to catch up to him, because unless you spend rings to use the dash, there is no chance you're gonna catch up to him. Which, at this point in the fight, you're not gonna want to do, because you're gonna risk running out of rings, and you've already spent 5 minutes fighting this guy. After you slowly but surely will him down, it will suddenly thrust you into this QTE section without warning. You need to homing attack these fireballs for some reason, and then you can finally deal the finishing blow. And it only took 10 straight minutes. What a way to end the game. This game had absolutely everything going for it, especially from the extremely positive reception from reviewers before release, and all the goodwill Sega had built up in prior years. There still is some good stuff in this game. Like I said before, I really do like the character models, and the controls, they feel really great and close to the classics, and the 2D animated cutscenes are always a treat. I love these. But it feels like for every step forward, there was about 5 flights of stairs they tripped and fell down. The level themes are boring, the music's super inconsistent, the boss fights suck complete dick, the emerald powers add basically nothing, there's no depth to the multiplayer. In fact, scratch that last one, I forgot to mention one of the main features of this game has a battle mode! What was in quotation marks or something? There's really nothing I can say about it. I mean, it's good, it's an option for this quote-unquote multiplayer game, but no one's gonna be touching this mode with a 10-foot pole. Do you think there's actually anyone out there that was looking at the trailers like, I don't know about this whole Sonic thing, I don't know if it's for me?
I want it now!
I am so glad I didn't end up getting this game day one, because I would have been so upset and annoyed at myself for not getting a better game with my money. £55 for a game that lasts 8 hours at absolute most. No polish, no extras, no collectibles other than the shitty robots. Even the Steam achievements are bullshit with such fun tasks like kill 100 enemies with the drop dash, kill 100 enemies with the glide, kill 100 enemies with the fucking tail attack. Are you kidding? I really hate I have to make this comparison, but Sega's basically asking for it by releasing this game when they did. Compare this game to Super Mario Bros. Wonder. That game came out the same week as Sonic Superstars, and what do you get? You get a game bursting at the seams with love and attention to detail and all these creative ideas, and it's basically the best 2D Mario we've ever gotten, with or without friends, and it took me about 20 hours-ish to 100% complete it, and I cannot recommend it enough. And that game is £50, which is somehow cheaper than Sonic Superstars. If you understandably think that's a tiny bit unfair because Sega games don't really get the same budgets and time constraints as Nintendo games, just look at Sonic Frontiers. For as unpolished, borderline unfinished as that game is, you can tell they really tried to make something special out of the time and budget that they had. You can feel the passion from the developers and their will to want to make a new Sonic game, the next big Sonic game. That's not even mentioning the free updates it received, bringing in new modes, challenges, a whole new campaign with a new story and new playable characters. The point is, you can tell they cared. They listened to feedback. You heard, oh, people don't really like this part of the story, let's change it up a little bit. And they did. Has this game done that? Did this game get any updates post-release? No! I completely forgot to mention Superstars has a story, but that's because it's so thrown together and nothing's ever expanded on. Who is Trip? Who is the Purple Dragon? Why did Trip not do anything in the final fight despite having her own super form? Why the fuck does the end appear in this one stage? You could argue the importance of story in a classic Sonic game, and I do get that. The other games are spoiled down to Eggman is evil. Go. But even with like Sonic 3, you could tell who Knuckles was, what his motivations were, and you can see him finally come around and join you by the end to take down Robotnik. I see they kind of did that with Trip in this game, and it probably will get expanded on at some other point. But as it stands right now, it feels like there's a lot of stones that still need to be turned, if you know what I mean. Did they have bigger plans or just ran out of time? I mean, I wouldn't be surprised with Sega's track record. I mean, seriously, who the hell is even in Arzest? What about the music? This game's music is so inconsistent for some reason. Who even made any of this? Who the hell are these guys? I bet their music sucks.
What the fuck?
It seems from the success of Frontiers and the movies, we're going to be getting bigger budget Sonic games moving forward, so who knows what the future holds. But if Superstars is anything to go by, I can only hope they learn from their mistakes when it comes to classic Sonic. But hey, at least this game supports save slots. That's 1 point to Sonic Superstars. Take that, Mario Wonder. Now let's take a look at that scoreboard. It's getting there.